I kind of just was like, man, F this job. Like, something just clicked. And I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I just want to be a stand-up. And so I went to lunch and I just didn't come back. And then she called me and she was like, are you not coming back? And I was like, no.
Sam J in the studio.
What's good?
Thanks for stopping by. You're in the middle of your tour. Across the country. How's that been so far?
Pretty good. You know what I mean? It's been moving. I can't be mad. People are turning up and showing out. So it's been fun.
How is it whenever you come back to Boston and perform, come back to your home city?
This is only going to be my second time in September
really?
At the Wilbur. Yeah, so I did it last year around June. And this will be my second time coming home. So the first time it was cool. We sold out. It was a good time. So I assume this time's going to be the same. You know what I mean? I'm hoping.
I would imagine, you were a household name before with your stuff on SNL and obviously your series you had on HBO Max and Peacock and all that. But after the roast, I would imagine stuff's changed a little bit.
Absolutely.
And it's not just you being on the roast. Like, you went up there and killed in your time.
Thank you, man.
So what's it been like after the roast, like the aftermath for you?
More white men recognizing me.
Hand up, I guess I'm one of them.
Yeah. A lot of older white guys like, you're Sam J. And I'm like, yeah. So I think definitely the fan base is changing, you know what I mean? And just getting broader for sure.
What was that like? Like, when did you find out you were doing it? How did you prep for that? And you went out, you're like, I'm going to go at Drew Bledsoe. I'm going to go at Tom Brady. And you brought the heat for them.
Yeah. Jeff Ross called me like maybe 6 days or 7 days before the roast, something like that. And he was like, hey, you want to roast Tom Brady? And I was like, hell yeah. And I didn't really realize how big of a deal it was, which sounds stupid and retro, but I just wasn't thinking about it. Like, this is Tom Brady. This is Netflix. It's not going to be like, I'm still putting it in the terms of a festival. I'm like, oh, it's just going to be some like little cool festival thing. I'm not thinking it's going to be like this big live stream thing that everybody's going to watch,
Yeah.
So I mean, immediately I just went into trying to get my jokes together because I didn't have that many days to get them together. And my friend Megan Gailey helped me. My homie Radio Raheem helped me. And then of course the writers in the roast were very good about like just, guiding me, letting me know what people were already doing, kind of what to stay away from. And, everybody who wrote for the roast was just so phenomenal and such a great staff. So I just had all that support, you know what I'm saying? And kind of just went in with some ideas of kind of where I wanted to go with it. And then we just kind of walked them through and talked them out, me, Megan, and Radio. And then I would just go to the cellar, work on them every night, refine them in front of an audience until I just got it to where I thought it was ready to go.
How do you do that in front of an audience without like the people you're roasting being there? Do you kind of
set
it
up for them? It's very awkward. You got to set it up a little bit because it's super awkward. It's a super awkward thing to do. And it still doesn't feel great. Like you're not getting the best response because they're just kind of like, well, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And we have no reference point for any of it. So it is way more just to like say the stuff out loud and kind of hear the rhythm of the jokes and how things are landing. But you can't really get a good gauge on like, is this going to work?
Yeah. Now, was there any that were shot down? Because you go up there, you're comparing Drew Bledsoe's Super Bowl ring to a strap-on. The OBGYN jokes you're saying with Tom Brady, one last go. I didn't know comedy could still go there, and that's what I loved about the roast. It was like refreshing. But was there any part of you were given, your jokes you submitted, and you're like, hey, you can't go here, you can't go there?
No, not for me. They didn't tell me. They didn't give me any parameters, really. They were kind of just like, do your thing. And I was like, okay. And then when I sent them the jokes I had, they were like, yo, these are great. You know what I mean? So I was like, all right, cool.
Was there any point when you're staring down Tom Brady, going at him, making those roast jokes, you're like, in your head, you're like, holy shit, that's Tom Brady?
The whole time. The whole time. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God, it's Tom Brady. I hope he doesn't get mad at me because I love him.
Yeah. I think, in the beginning you saw, like, when you were starting your joke, he's sitting there like, where is this going?
Yeah.
And by the end, he's keeled over laughing his ass off.
Yeah.
If you had the time, would you have went at Bill Belichick? You had some jokes for him?
I didn't have any jokes for Bill. No, I didn't actually. I was really specific because I was like, I only got so much time, and I had only so much time to write the jokes. So I was like, I picked my 3, and I was like, I'm just gonna hone in on this and get this as like good as I could get it.
Who do you think were the best? Like, who impressed you as the non-comedians?
Nikki. Oh, non-comedians.
No, you know what? F it. Who impressed you the most?
Nikki Glaser for sure. She killed it. She was so funny. I was impressed by Edelman. He landed a lot of the planes very well, I thought. I was impressed by Gronk. Actually,
Really?
yeah, I thought his was really funny. Peyton Manning,
Yeah.
was really good. And I thought his was really good. Drew Bledsoe actually did a good job too. A lot of the athletes, I was surprised, like they had the timing down, and they were like landing the planes. You know what I mean? I was like, well, okay, they're doing this, and that kind of made it fun to do too, because you could see that they were like really getting into it. But I would say probably Peyton Manning and Edelman impressed me the most.
Growing up a Patriots fan, did it hurt you have to say like Peyton Manning was good at it? But I mean, like Tom kicked his ass. It's not like it was Eli.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want him to be good at it. Like when he came out, I was like, boo in my head. You know, I was booing out loud
I
in
feel
my
that.
head. I was like,
Yeah.
boo. And then I was like, oh man, he's likable. You know,
Yeah.
like dang, he's actually likable. Bummer. But if it was Eli, I wouldn't have cared what he did.
You hate him no matter what.
Yeah, it wouldn't have mattered to me.
I got to admit, because I grew up a Patriots fan, but when I was in college, at one point I interned for the Giants. It was Odell Beckham's rookie season, so Eli's still there. I
cool.
obviously hate, yeah.
Damn.
You know who's cool, who I hate too? David Tyree.
Damn.
The two people I hate the most in my childhood. They
They
ripped
be
my
cool.
heart out.
Yeah, they be actually cool when you talk to them.
You meet them, you're like, I actually
Dang,
f- with you. And I hate that about them so much.
That's messed up that you told me he's cool.
When you met Brady, were you starstruck at all? Like, I know I saw you took photos with him after and everything.
Yeah. I mean, like in my head, I don't think I hope I didn't act like it, but in my, in my brain, of course, I'm like, oh my God, it's Tom Brady. Like, but like, I was trying to be like, chill.
What was it like getting up close to him? I mean, there was like the collagen jokes or whatever Edelman was saying about his face. But when you get up and close to him, I mean, it's like candidly, does he, like I saw the photo you posted with him. I'm like, that guy looks like too much work. But when you got up close to him, it's like, hey, it's Tom Brady. He's just a good looking dude.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't judge Tom at all. I think everything he does is perfect. I agree. I think he's just like the perfect being. Like, I don't, like people say stuff, I'm like, I just don't see it. It's kind of like Shallow Hal. Like, you can't get me to see that.
I think it's the hate on him the most. I mean, he won. He was successful wherever he went.
Yeah.
Obviously a good looking dude. You know, he got to that point in his career. He's like, I'm going to do the modeling thing. Who cares? And he was unbeatable. So, yeah, people are going to hate him no matter what he does.
He's like, he wouldn't even lose his hair. It started to go. He's like, nah, I don't lose nothing.
He's like 57. He's got more hair than me, and I'm 30.
Yeah.
And I hate
think
that.
That's so cool.
I'll do the same thing when I get the money for it. Well, for you growing up here, also, what was that like to get the call? Was there any connection of like, hey, you're from Dorchester, you're a Boston sports fan? Or was it solely like Jeff Ross knew how good of a comedian you were and he wanted you up here on that?
I think it was both.
Okay.
You know, I've known Jeff for a long time. You know what I mean? I met him, early into my career and stuff. And, we've been on the road with Dave together, so we know each other pretty well. And also, he knows I'm from Boston, you know what I mean? So I think it was like a win-win type of a situation, and I think they were happy to have at least one person from the city, like, on the dossier,
Mm-hmm. What was it like growing up here? And like, because for you, what's your, I guess, like pecking order of like fandom? Is it like Celtics? Is it Sox?
Yeah. It goes, Edelman asked me this. It goes Celtics, it goes Patriots, it goes Red Sox, it goes Bruins.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an ascension, I guess, of cooler sports before the less cool. That's how I look at it.
I mean, I say it descends into whiteness.
Yeah, and it's hockey at the end. I can't hate on that
but
at
I like
all.
hockey, but it's at the end.
What if you had to, for your like Mount Rushmore of like Boston sports athletes?
Ooh.
You don't got to focus on one team. If you go overall Boston sports
4,
athletes. Yeah, the Mount Rushmore's got 4. It's tough
Bill
with Boston.
Russell, Mo Vaughn, because Mo Vaughn just meant a lot to Black Boston.
Yeah.
Tom Brady.
Of course.
And Pedro for beating up that old man on the Yankees. Hell yeah.
He went right at him and he took him down.
Hell yeah, Pedro.
I like that Mo Vaughn shout out for me. I went to Seton Hall, so he's a Seton Hall alum. He's like one of the biggest names we got on that.
Yeah.
And for you, when you were growing up too, I mean, what was it like to be a Boston sports fan, and especially from like 2001 on to be in the city?
I mean, it was great to be winning, but also like you were hated. And I had moved out of the city, and I went to Atlanta to go to college, which is a very black city. So everybody hates the Patriots. No one likes like any of our teams. Like all of our teams, so like black Americans across the country just represent whiteness. So they're just kind of like, how could you even like these teams? And I'm like, cause I'm from there. You know what I mean? But so it was like being the most hated, but it felt good because we were winning. So it was like, who cares?
I bet like a shock. I mean, going to Atlanta, getting the hate, and you're like, I'm from Dorchester, like I'm from Boston.
Yeah.
But like, I guess anyone that's not from here, they connect Boston with like, the Fide look or like the Weston look. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They have one very specific image of the city in their mind for sure.
Were you able to make it to any of like the championship games, like whether you were growing up or like now that you're a comedian?
I went to a finals game last year. I didn't go to a championship game, but I went to like a finals game last year, or two actually. I might have went to like 2 or 3. I've been going to a lot more basketball and stuff in the last like 4 years when I got some money and a little bit of fame. And people started giving me tickets and stuff. That's how I ended up seeing hockey. But I've been making out to some games. I haven't been to like a championship like big game yet.
See, that's what I think. Like once if you hit fandom, especially in Boston sports, you could actually afford the tickets to get in.
Yeah,
they're like outrageously priced now, so that's why I was asking that and thinking on that.
Yeah,
the Patriots got to get back to a Super Bowl for you then.
Yeah, and then I could get some free tickets.
There you go. Celtics are close for it.
Yeah, I think 5.
And you think 5? I think sweep.
5.
Now I originally thought Mavs in 7, so I got to be candid. Yeah, but this Mavericks team sucks, and it shows how good the Celtics are.
I don't think sweep. I was worried though.
Game 2 got tight.
Game 2, I was like, we're gonna be okay. But they're playing right. To me, it's like the attitude and how they play.
Yeah.
That will tell the story. And I wasn't sure what kind of attitude they were gonna come in with, because as we know, there are guys, so we know they can slack off in later in the games, and sometimes they just don't come out with intensity. And you're like, are you guys here to win a championship or what's happening here?
Yeah.
But they came out the gate right attitude, and then in game 2, I was like, let's see if they're consistent, because that's another thing. We've been kind of criticizing up and down through the season the consistency of that attitude. So I was like, how are they going to come out in game 2? That's going to tell me a lot. And then they came out with the same energy, and I was like, no, all right, we're going to be okay.
It was like game 1 when it got within 8. And like Luka had that smirk, you're like, all right, here we go. Like, come on, it's gonna be close. And then they just opened it up.
Yeah.
Game 2, they played bad. Like turnovers, couldn't shoot from 3.
Yeah.
You saw like the Drew Holiday, the Jaylen Brown effect of those guys holding it down.
That's what those pieces are supposed to do. And that's exactly what you want to see, is like the team step up when it's time, and the right guys take the right shots in the right moments and do what they're supposed to do. And the utility players come out and be utilities when we need them to be. So it feels like everything's clicking. You don't want to jinx anything.
I know.
But it feels like everything's clicking.
I like that 5. Well, if it's a 5 call, then it's back at home.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to.
You're selfish.
5. Yeah.
Hey, get Sam J free tickets.
Right.
And 5. She's at the Garden.
This is just selfishness. It's absolutely.
I don't want to hate on anyone, but if you sit in courtside, I think it'd be better for Celtics fandom as a whole. There's like the courtside peeps. You like,
but they need some real, I get what you're saying. They need some real energy down there.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like you watch Knicks games, and like it's Ben Stiller, but he brings the juice, and Spike Lee and Chris Rock. We need that at TD Garden.
Yeah.
What is it like though, living in the city now, like Boston sports fan, but also going from Boston to being in New York City?
I mean, I'm gonna be Boston wherever I go,
of course.
So I have fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like watching the Knicks lose to the Pacers in a New York bar and laughing at them was a great time.
Just getting in their faces.
Yeah, I have a good time. You know what I mean? You already know you're gonna be hated as a Boston sports fan, so it's like you might as well turn it all the way up to the max.
I like that. And you still wear your jerseys around the city and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are they? I haven't lived in New York City or like the area in Jersey in like years.
They're not like crazy about stuff like that. We're more hung up on that than they are. Absolutely.
I think it's fine here too, though.
I mean,
there's a pockets.
We've been bad. Like we've literally like pummeled people at Fenway and like.
Yes, it's true. I'm saying I think it's gotten better.
So we're bad, but they're not. I just feel like New York has so much stuff, that they're like
melting
famous
pot.
For too. Like, oh, we got hip hop, and we got this, and we got that. Like they're not. They're like the Knicks are cool and they love them, but they're not out here like swinging in the streets over it.
Yeah, all right, that's.
But
fair.
all we have is like our sports.
Yeah, here. A lot different in this city.
All we got is our sports.
I went to Yankees Red Sox like back when I was in college, and we were sitting in the bleachers in old Yankee Stadium, or New Yankee Stadium, I'm sorry. And my boy that was wearing an Ortiz jersey, it got like sketchy out there. So that's where I think of like Yankees fans are worse, because security had to come up. They're like, look, we can't stop them. You either have to leave or you just got to leave.
Really?
Basically is what they said. Yeah.
I wore my jersey to Yankee Stadium. It hasn't been a problem.
All right, you're sitting in a good section then.
Yeah, maybe that was the section.
I bet it was. I think that's what it was.
Maybe it was the quality of
and
people.
he was minding his own business on that too.
Might have been the quality of people.
Do you hear, if you're wearing your Patriots jersey around the city, you still hear about, I hate to bring it up, 07, 11, I'll whisper
Of course. That's they have that.
That's all they got.
They have that, and you can't take it from them.
Right.
And if I was them and I had it, I'd use it.
All right, fair. You'd be petty too,
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
like that. Where were you in 2007, that Super Bowl?
Helmet catch.
Yes, Tyree helmet catch.
I was in. I was somewhere with Giants fans. I know that.
Oh.
And I regretted that decision quite heavily. I believe I was in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was in Atlanta at a house. They were watching at a house.
But you were still watching with Giants fans, even though you were in
But
Atlanta?
there are no...
Falcons fans, because they suck.
Right. Atlanta doesn't have... They're very fair weather fans there. So it was a house of Giants fans or people that were rooting for the Giants.
They were rooting for them just because they hate the Patriots.
Yeah,
right?
I should say. When that happened, it was very depressing.
Were you like at least on home turf, like at your house, or like
Nope.
was it in a bar?
No,
a friend's
I was
place?
at someone else's house.
At least you could leave quick, I guess.
Yeah, I left.
What about 2011? Did you learn from that, or did you still watch with like Giants fans?
I watched with some Giants fans again. Yeah.
That was the worst because, like, I go back to 04. You see what happens with the Yankees and Sox, right? And then 07, it's a perfect season. It's Eli, it's helmet catch. You're like, all right, that sucks.
I don't trust our perfect seasons ever.
Right? Like when that happens, anyone's like, oh, the 13-0, 14-0. I'm like, stop.
I did not want
lose.
the Celtics to have a perfect season this season.
Yeah.
I was like, please no, because we have bad luck with perfect seasons.
It goes back to like when you're playing so good all regular season, like, no, you want them to get that adversity. You want them to be challenged. I was big even on like, I wanted Porzingis. Like I was like watching his health. They were sitting him out. And I was like watching his health on that of like what could happen, right? And yeah, it happened in the first round, but like that's what I was holding my breath on of like just keep them ready for the finals, and they did.
Right.
But that's what I think with like the perfect seasons too in the NFL. It's like 12-0, 13-0. You want them to lose.
Yeah.
So, but then you think of like 2011 too. It's like all over again.
Yeah.
And it's just like it sucks because it was Eli.
It was Eli.
It was the Giants again. It was Eli again.
It was very depressing.
It was Gronk with the bad ankle in 2011.
Yeah. And it's like, you just don't like those humps you can't beat. You know what I mean? It's like, dang, that's a mark on the legacy. Is like, we couldn't get past the Giants and Eli. Yeah,
the one thing. Even Brady at the roast, like at the end, he was like, F you Eli, F you New York twice. The only people he can't ever say anything to.
Yeah, because he can't, Eli got two on him. That's crazy.
Yeah. What about, now, I mean, I asked, what about 2008 when the Celtics won the NBA title with Paul Pierce and KG? Where were you for that? Let's talk good now.
I was in Atlanta at ESPN Zone.
Oh.
When the ESPN Zone was a thing in Atlanta,
Yeah?
I was at the ESPN Zone in Atlanta watching it on the big screen.
Yeah.
And it was all Lakers fans.
Because I guess, what was it? It was February 08, Pats losing the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then later, summertime, Celtics bounce back and pick Boston back up.
Yeah.
That had to have felt nice then.
Yep, absolutely.
Were you in Atlanta for 28-3, or were you in New York City at that time?
Oh, no. I was in LA.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you can't even rub it in the Atlanta fans then.
They were Atlanta fans there too.
Surprising enough in LA, I guess.
Yeah, everybody was going for Atlanta. At that point, it was the black team versus the white team,
Yeah, fair, I guess, on that point. And you're like the one like black fan of the Patriots at that point. They're like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Blink twice if you're all right. You need to be saved, right?
Exactly.
And so when you started your career, like how did you get into comedy?
Doing open mics around the city.
Yeah,
honestly.
Here in Boston.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was your first open mic? Where was it?
Ooh, it was at this place called Biff's Lounge, which was in a lodge in like Grove Hall. That was the first mic I did.
Yeah.
It was not good. And then there used to be this place called Rogies that was kind of over there by like BU. Mm-hmm. And then there's the Grandma Cellar, which was by Fenway and the old Howard Johnson's where the Chinese food restaurant was, downstairs in their basement. And it was called Grandma's Basement. And then there was the Comedy Studio, and the Middle East had an open mic.
Yep.
And just like doing that.
Middle East and Central.
Somerville had the Tavern at the End of the World.
Yep. My buddy does open mic there every once in a while too.
Yeah.
That's like going in like wherever you can find it. Just practice, right?
Absolutely.
How long were you doing that for?
Like 3-4 years.
Were you working like full time at the same time too?
Yeah, I was working at John Hancock in the mailroom.
Oh no shit. Oh, and that's persistency. That's what I'm thinking when I hear that.
Yeah.
So, and when were you finally like, all right, I'm good. I'm gonna quit this job, like a great job at John Hancock, and then
Honestly,
go.
I had left John Hancock and I was working for this like shipping company, and we were shipping sperm all over the country essentially and tracking it to make sure it got there.
Wait, shipping what?
Sperm.
That's a unique job.
For like fertility stuff.
Got it.
So we had to like track it because it had to get there, so, because it was refrigerated. It was all this stuff.
Yeah.
So that was basically the job, though. You were kind of tracking sperm across the nation.
Crazy.
And I got invited to do this comedy festival, and I asked for the time off to do the festival. And then the boss came in. I don't even remember her name, but I'm positive this woman hates me. She came in and told me I couldn't because her family was coming in town that weekend. It was like some craziness, and I was like,
right?
I'm going to this festival anyway.
Yeah.
So at that point, I decided I'm going to the festival. I don't care. And I kind of just was like, man, F this job. Like, something just clicked. And I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I just want to be a stand-up. And so I went to lunch and I just didn't come back. And then she called me and she was like, are you not coming back? And I was like, no. And she was like, this is wildly unprofessional and da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, nah. And she was like, well, I'm going to give you a terrible reference and I'll make sure that other employees. And I was like, I'm never going to apply for a job again, so I don't care.
That's awesome.
And I went to the festival and I just didn't ever get a job again.
And what was that next step like then? Because you basically burned the ships. You're like, I'm not gonna have full-time income, everything like that. Like you take the risk.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you could always go back to a full-time job. But once you said like, all right, I'm gonna go full into it. Like, what was that next step? Because how do you go from chasing open mics around the city to now basically where you're at now?
At that point, I had already started getting a little bit of like paid shows, and I was like, hosting slays sometimes, thanks to Jonathan Gates, who would allow me to do that. So I had figured out like, a little $150 show here, a little $200 show here. I was like, I could string enough money together to like get rent and like survive, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it kind of just like moved expeditiously. I went to do that festival. That's where I met my manager. She's still my manager to this day.
Sweet.
Kara Baker. And then by that summer, in the summer, I had moved to LA.
Okay.
Started doing mics and stuff around LA. Kind of got known on the LA scene. That year, I got New Faces at Just for Laughs. So things just started to go.
What year was that when you went to LA?
It was like 16, 17.
Timelines always interest me with this stuff.
It had to be like 16.
And then was it like 17, 18 you got to SNL?
Yep, exactly.
And so were you still able to do comedy on the side? Because you were writing for SNL,
yeah,
right?
I was doing comedy at night. Like after I would leave SNL or leave Writers Night, I would go to the Cellar because they were open late.
Yeah.
And I would do late sets at the Cellar, like midnight sets and shit like that at the Cellar. Ooh, can I say shit?
You're good. We'll edit it out. I cursed a few times anyway. You'd be comfortable on this. And so you went from LA back to East Coast, New York City when you went to SNL. Mm-hmm. What did you learn from being on SNL? Like, because you were there for a few years.
Yeah, I learned how to write, really. That was my first writing job, and I had never written like sketch before. Okay. So learning how to write sketch and just learning my voice in that way. Like, I knew my stand-up voice, but I didn't really know my writing voice yet, you know? So learning just who I am as an artist in that way. It taught me a lot about production, Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I learned a lot about like behind the camera and sets and design and just how to make things look real and all that kind of. I learned a bunch, honestly. It was like a intense like internship. And
I read it was an internship, or like you feel like that's how it was.
No, it was like that. No, I said it was like an intense internship. Yeah, got you. Yeah.
I mean, I was like, if you're putting all that work in, I'm hoping it wouldn't be an internship. Like I paid. Yeah, okay. And I read that you were the one that pitched and put together the Black Jeopardy skit.
No, that was already a sketch. That was already a sketch that existed before I got there. So that's a Brian Tucker and Michael Che thing that they had been doing for a while. They had done with Tom Hanks. They had done with.
I saw the Tom Hanks one.
Yeah, I just worked on the Chadwick Boseman one, but they had been doing that. I don't know if maybe 3-4 seasons.
I mean, that's sick. You were working on like the most iconic one. It was like, what is it, like Damn Karen with like the egg salad thing?
Yeah.
And when you go from SNL, like going into the full-time comedy now, did SNL help you out with like when you did Bust Down and your Max series?
Of course, yeah, that's what I mean. Like that was me, like learning production and learning not just like how to write, but like how to put things in front of the camera and like how to make television. Definitely informed. It informed the special. It informed Bust Down. It informed Pause. All of it.
What do you like more, doing the sketch writing and that kind of stuff, or do you prefer to be up on the stage?
I like both. You know
comedy.
what I mean? Yeah, I think they both feed each other in different ways. Sometimes, like, I can do things in writing that I can't do on stage, and sometimes I can do things on stage that I can't do in writing. So I like both.
When you're going across the country, what city's like your favorite comedy city?
DC's always fun.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is it the crowd? Like
DC has great crowds.
Yeah. What about it?
They're just comedy savvy, like Boston.
Okay.
Boston's a comedy savvy town. Like, you know, they get it. They're with it. You know what I mean? Smart.
Yeah.
You know, they're politically aware. They're aware of the goings-ons in the world. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, like, that kind of makes for good audiences.
Do you need like an understanding from the audience to like, hey, this is comedy? Like, I'm going to get these jokes off. Like, you know, some people might be like, oh, like not liking a joke because it gets political. But it's like, if you're in this spot, like, I'm going to make my jokes. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think to some degree, at some point, you can't really think about that.
Yeah.
You know, like, you just got to kind of go for what you came to do. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, at the end of the day, they did come to a comedy club. Like, it's like, what do you want from me?
Yeah. I just think for like me, like my parents being like Middle Eastern immigrants, like there would be jokes made about that. And I'm like, what can I do? I'm going to laugh.
Right.
You know, and it's like, it's one of those where like, I don't agree with it, but like, it's comedy. Yeah. I signed up to be here. That's why I ask about that understanding of it. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes too, it's like you can laugh at something and not necessarily agree with the entire sentiment of the thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think, you know, comedians only expressing their POV. So you're not going to go along with every single part of it, you know? So there should be some expectation on both sides of like, you're not going to love every thing that comes out of my mouth, if I'm being honest and up here, you know.
Is there any city you've been like doing comedy in, you're like, I can't believe I'm here, whether it's like for a good reason, like this is me in a big venue in LA or Boston, or if you're like, I don't know, middle of nowhere like northern Canada, you're like, I can't believe my career's brought me here, like what am I doing here?
Both like, you know, there's like when I was in Salt Lake City 4 months ago, I was like, what am I doing in Utah? You know what I mean? Like, I have no business here, you know?
Yeah.
But then also, like, when I did the arena with Dave in Toronto, and I was like, I can't believe I'm doing, like, an arena in Toronto, and I'm walking all behind everything, and doing MSG even, or, you know? So, yeah, it's like, I think both happen all the time, you know? There's times where I'm like, holy crap, is this happening? Like, doing the Forum at all, even if it wasn't just like my set, but like doing the roast and standing in the Forum and being like, what the hell, to like, you know, being somewhere like Winnipeg, Canada, and being like, why did I say yes to
cold
this?
as hell,
right?
White as hell up there,
right? They're known for Winnie the Pooh, actually.
Winnipeg?
Yeah.
Is that where it was written or created?
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, something. I don't know. I never watched that growing up, honestly. Did you know the magnitude of the roast when you were doing it? Like, did you understand?
No, not at all. I was being dumb. Yeah. I kind of minimize things in my mind intentionally because I just don't want to get overwhelmed by them.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So like as soon as I heard it, I was like, just do the work. I just went right into like, write your jokes and da-da-da. So I wasn't thinking about it. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, but I just wasn't thinking. And then when we got to the Forum, I kind of was like, oh, okay, we're at the Forum. And then my manager was like, yeah, we need you down at the red carpet in like 10 minutes. And I was like, oh, there's like a carpet for this? And she was like, yes, Sam. Like, what do you think this is? And I was like, okay. And then I'm like, go to the carpet and it's like people like flashing and like calling names. And I'm like, and I looked at my manager. I was like, so this is like a big deal. And she was like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, ugh. But then it's like, yeah, duh, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Netflix.
Exactly.
They spent a lot of money on this. You know, like
they're going to make it right.
They're going to make it right. You know what I mean? And then when I went to like run the rehearsal and I saw like the audience and it was like Kim Kardashian and all the little card placements for who was going to be sitting where. And then I realized like, yeah, everyone's going to be coming like dressed up. I was like, oh, this is like a thing.
You knew, I didn't know if anyone knew Kim K would be there before. I was surprised she was there at all.
Yeah. I didn't find out till I went to rehearse like 2 hours before.
Yeah, I think it's better off. The second I'd see that name, like let alone Tom Brady's and whoever was there, the second I see that name, like, oh, this is going to be a big deal.
That's what I thought. Seriously. It was serious. Like once I saw that, I was like, oh, this is like a thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
It's a good thing you brought a good fit with you. Like to rock there, not knowing there'd be a red carpet because that matters.
They told me like to wear a suit. So I was like, cool, I'll wear a suit. But I don't know. I just thought for the optics of it, they wanted us in suits.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking like, I just wasn't putting it together. It was very silly of me.
Did you grow up watching roasts?
I I have not seen every single roast, but I've seen a good amount.
Yeah, so you like knew it, but to be that big.
And I knew what it was, and that's why I thought they wanted us in the suits or whatever. I was like, oh, they're gonna have us in the suits or whatever. And it was at a festival, so that's the difference too. I was just putting it all within the guise of the festival.
Yeah.
And I wasn't thinking about it as its own thing.
I understand that. And then was it the next day, or actually, I mean, like night of, your phone blowing up? Maybe followers going up on Instagram, whatever it may be.
It was like overnight kind of for sure.
I'll tell you, because we were watching it in the office and you got up and like I'm listening, but I'm like typing stuff. Like I'm more listening to the comedy. And then you started going and it's like the strap-on joke. I'm like, who the F is this? One of my coworkers walked on. He's like, oh, that's Sam J. I'm like, we look it up. He's from Dorchester. And then you did the Brady jokes. I was like, holy because you just went. And like whatever, how much time did they give you? Like, do you know how much time you get up there?
I feel like we all had like 5 to 6 minutes or 4 to 6 minutes or something like that.
Whatever your 5 minutes was, like you went out, like shot like 7 for 7 from deep, had a posterized dunk. But like, I think that was sick was like you went up and there was the big names, the Jeff Rosses, the Burt Kreischer's, Andrew Schultz was there, right? But you went on and you just fucking put your imprint on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so that's why I ask, like, did it kind of like amplify even more, I guess, on the comedy
Absolutely.
scene? But I feel like, comedy fans knew who you were, though.
Yeah, that would say, like, I wouldn't say necessarily on the comedy scene. Like, all those comics that were there, I've known for a long time.
Yeah.
We've known each other. They know me very well. So it wasn't like that. And, I'm pretty known within comedy, not to, stroke my own strokey.
No, you're good. I'm a casual at comedy.
I do think it did like bring me more out of like the niche comedy people that know comedy, you know, and it kind of expanded that audience to casual comedy fans, people that just like Tom Brady. You know what I mean? It was like it brought in kind of everybody for a moment in a way that I haven't had a moment like that yet in my career for sure.
It's cool because it bridges fandom.
Yes.
I mean, that's the perfect way you put it. There's the sports fans and people that love Tom Brady, like Buccaneers fans. It's like, a good few years for him. And then there's the comedy fans that are watching because it's a roast and it kind of connects everything on that.
Exactly.
And to put you on completely like different people's radars and everything.
100%.
I mean, for me, it's like, like Bill Burr is my favorite comedian because I feel like what he says is so true. Like, like it's accurate for real life. Obviously, Chappelle's great. Like those are the guys I know. I saw him live and it was like, he was here at the Garden and it was like the gift of his storytelling. And, it was like 17,000 people, but you felt like he was talking to you, which is like what like boggled my mind, like truly gifted, not talented. Like he had a gift.
Yeah.
But like you go up and do that. It's like, all right, now I know Sam J. I knew Andrew Schultz, but like now I know him. Nikki Glazer, same thing like that. So what does a roast like that like do for comedy, you think, as a whole? Is it just, again, it bridges the audiences? I think
it bridges the audiences. I think it also just like to see us doing, because really like at the end of the day, it's a little bit insular, right? We're up there, we're competing with each other. We want to like out roast each other. We're having our fun little back and forth. We're laughing. It shows like the community of it. And I think sometimes people will like isolate somebody like Schultz and be like, I don't like his style of comedy, or I don't like these jokes, or these jokes are offensive. But when you see all different types of people sitting together, joking together, hanging out, throwing shots at each other that are harsh as hell, it's like, it's a lot more even playing field than that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think it shows that as well.
It's kind of like what comedy is. It's like all the different jokes coming together, different type of deliveries and everything too.
Yeah.
On all that. I want to get back to, you said it's going to be Celtics in 5.
Yeah.
What would them winning that title first since 08 for the Celtics, like what would that mean for you?
For me personally?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'd be so happy. I always equate, I don't know, I just feel like, when your city's winning, it's like, if you're really from a town and you have a town with a strong sports identity, a little bit of your own identity is connected to that identity. So whenever like one of our teams is doing well or wins, I'm like, I'm gonna have like a good year in my career. Things are gonna go pretty well for me this year. Like, so I'd be really jazzed.
It's a city where it's truly palpable when like a team's doing good.
Yeah.
Like Sox in 21 when they made the ALCS run. It's all anyone's talking about. The Bruins the last 2 years.
Yeah.
The Celtics 2 years ago was the heartbreak, and last year coming up short. But this time, like, this team's ready.
This team is ready. Yeah.
What like, do you have a love-hate with this team because like the letdown they have, which I would understand, and like you have the guys that are like so talented, like Tatum, but it's like, dude, just like play like you're 6'10",
Yeah, for sure. Definitely love hate. You know what I'm saying? But I think any good team gives you that.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
It's good to have those expectations.
It's been a long relationship too. You know what I'm saying? So we've been watching JB and Tatum since they were kids. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of expectations that we have. There's a lot that we want, like parents, we want to see for them that may conflict with what they want to see for themselves. You know what I mean? It's like that whole relationship is very real.
Yeah.
That's why when it wins, it matters so much too, because you've just been like on this journey with them the whole time.
I know. 6 conference finals. It finally got through on 2 of them. Come up short in 21, 22. Come short on expectations. I like how you compare it to being like a parent of them too, because what I love watching in this whole playoff run is like Jaylen Brown bringing it all together.
Yeah.
His defense. People are still texting me making like left hand jokes. I'm like, yo, his handles are tight. Like he's fine.
That left hand.
I know he'll be a little bit, but but like overall, it's not as like egregious.
Yeah. No, he's gotten a lot better, and he's just gotten a lot better at his overall game.
Yeah,
and being a leader out there. Like I definitely was concerned about that for a while. Right, that was one of my biggest kind of things. Is like, who is leading out there? Who's in charge?
Yeah,
who's the captain? Who can we point to and say that's the guy?
Yeah.
Right. When things are going crazy, who does the ball need to touch to get us back in line? And that I didn't really think that person had emerged. But I will say in this playoff run, I'm seeing JB emerge as that person.
Boom,
and
agree.
I think that that's really cool. Just when he was mic'd up last game, just the things he was saying on the side, the way he was talking to everybody, how intentional he was, you know? I thought it was really cool. It seems like he's coming out and he's kind of taking that and claiming that and becoming that. And in that, him and Tatum are finding their rhythm. As frustrated as we could be with Tatum not scoring a bunch of points, and I would like to see him just let it go a little more. And I do think that he's become way too focused on being an assist man and helping. And I think what happens is later in the game, he's off because he hasn't been shooting the ball. And now it's like, now you're trying to go be the scoring guy, and you're a little bit off because you're not in a rhythm, you know? But I think he'll find a balance. But I do appreciate that he is also saying, hey, my game can adjust to be whatever it needs to be to win. And I think in that, as frustrated as those other things could be, the tandem is figuring out how to play well together and how to play well together in a way where they could keep winning championships.
That was a great take. That was great.
Thank you.
You could do sports talk. But I mean, you hit everything. Like I'm thinking here, I'm like, agree. And it's the coaching they have where you'll see Tatum go in right to the cup, and then he passes it out. You're like, why didn't you take the easy look? Because Joe Mazzulla wants 45 threes a game.
Yes. And he wants a certain percentage, go for the high percentage shot. And
Tatum's like, if I have 16 potential assists and it sets up my team. So, Mazzulla's in his head like, I need to do 16 potential assists.
Yes.
Then it gets late and you see him doing like a weird turnaround jumper. It's like, bro, you're 6 for 18. Go to the cup, play
weird
big.
Handle in there.
I know.
Weird something or other. And you're like, ooh.
He's stuck between 2 decisions.
Yes.
And you got to be decisive. I think it's if anything you do, especially the speed that they play.
And that's what it looks like sometimes too. Like he gets down there, they collapse on him, and it's like he's thinking about shooting it, then it changes his mind, then he dishes it, and it's like, well, that was a bad pass. That was passed into traffic. Why would you do that? Yeah. And it is that kind of stuck between 2 things. And I do think it kind of does lie on Mazzulla a little bit of he needs to tell him when he can let the chains off and go crazy.
Agree.
You know what I mean? Like Mazzulla's got to go, okay, now it's time for you to score.
Be that dude.
Be that guy. I don't need you to do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Go. And he needs to hit that button at the right time and kind of like set Tatum out in the right way.
But I give Mazzulla credit and it's also, it's Brad Stevens in the roster construction, where it's like Tatum was 1 for 7 in the fourth in game 2, 0 for 4 the final 7 minutes, missed 2 dunks. And then when there was that Tatum block, PJ Washington, he gets stopped by JB and White. JB came down and had the game icing bucket. And I think, again, that goes to the growth of Jaylen Brown. Of like, he can lock in. You go back a few years, that's a get ill-advised, like, turnaround 3-point shot. I'm exaggerating.
It is.
Or it's an awful turnover.
But I will say, 3 years ago, I still was like, I think JB's the guy.
Yeah, really? I always thought Tatum, but this one shifted. You know what?
He could say 3 years, I was like,
because JB, he was great in the finals.
It's JB. Because you could just tell he
wants it. He wants to be in that moment. His mentality.
Yes. And it's not like the guy in a way that's like dissing Tatum. It's just like in those moments, he's the one who's like, he turns on, no one's going to beat us.
Yeah, he's going to be a dog there.
Yes, he's going to be a dog.
And it's like you want that for Tatum because he's talented, but they're the people that aren't that great. You're in New York City. Jalen Brunson's an undersized guard. but you need him to drop 40 game after game after game. He'll do that. What Jaylen Brown's doing, especially defensively on Kyrie, he's taking one of the best offensive players, most talented to ever do it, locking him down on the perimeter, knocking the ball out of his hand, just completely getting into his head.
He's just becoming that guy all over. Even when
you
watch the Miami run. At one point, I'm like screaming. I'm like, why are you guys? Who's gonna stop Bam? Because apparently, you're just gonna let this dude do whatever the hell he wants. And then you see Brown switch on him. Like, no, this has to stop. We're not doing this. Like, nah. And it's like those type of decisions. That's when you start to see a player really emerge. You know?
Yeah. And he did it game 1, picking up Doncic full half court.
Yeah. Like, we're not doing this.
Game 2, not caring. He's like, I'm a switch. He's like, enough
that
of this.
Attitude. Yeah.
Absolutely. Who would you pick for Finals MVP? Gotta do it too. You had a great take there.
I mean, if it keeps going this way, JB.
Yeah, same. Now, if Tatum has like a 35-point game,
I think he's gonna have a breakout game. I want to say, I think we're gonna win the first game in Dallas. I just do.
Agree.
I know people don't believe in that, and I think Tatum's gonna have a breakout game on the road.
Okay, I like that. I think it's JB. I want Brown to get it because it shows that Eastern Conference Finals wasn't a fluke. He had that shot in game 1. He had the 40-point outing, but what he's doing both ends of the floor.
What he's doing on both ends of the floor is phenomenal.
It would be cool to see the validation for him too, because he got clowned nonstop when he signed that Supermax, and he took it and it motivated him. Like he came back a better player than he was last year, the year before.
And that I thought was really cool too. He took the money and he got better.
Right? That never happens.
Yeah.
Never happens. All right, that was a good Celtics take. What about Patriots? Like, what do you think? Drake May, Gerard Mayo?
I don't know, man. I'm just gonna watch. I'm just gonna chill and watch.
The pain of watching Mac Jones for 3 years just came through. I don't know,
man. I'm just gonna sit and watch.
Be patient.
Patient. I have no predictions. I have no theories.
Yeah.
I will say I'm tuning back. I will say I tuned out. I'm going to be tuning back in.
The Mac Jones era had you tuning out.
I stopped last year. I said no.
Yeah.
My brother was watching every game. I said, why are you doing this to yourself?
Why are you doing that grief?
Yeah. I said, what are you doing this to yourself for?
It's torture.
He was like, you just don't watch anymore? I said, no. There's no reason. I'm not doing it.
I think it's like one of the healthiest relationships you could have as a sports fan of like, I'm not going to watch that because I know it's going to be, and I'm not going to put that pain on myself.
I'm not going to just be up here sad every Sunday, bro.
I think patience is the right thing with May, because I think it's going to take a few years because the roster's that bad.
Yeah. I got to just
And he's going to take a few years to be like a solid starter. But the kid's ceiling's great. Like, he'll be better than Mac was ever close to being, you know?
Yeah. I agree, but we just got to chill.
Yeah. All right, you gave me your Boston Mount Rushmore. If you gave me your like top 4, your favorite, you know what? I'll give you top 5. Who are your 5 favorite Patriots players ever?
Dang.
No Mount Rushmore here. I'm giving you a little more of a roster.
Okay. Harrison.
Rodney Harrison.
McGinnis.
Should be a Hall of Famer.
Tom.
Yeah.
Vince Harry.
Yeah. Cold-blooded. Gronk, yeah?
Yeah.
I like that. Gronk's greatest tight end of all time. Obviously, Brady's
he's also
a goat.
just fun.
Right? I think, like, his existence is the greatest because he was a pro athlete, got out there. It was okay for him to just be a frat boy. And right now, he's still, like, he makes jokes at his own expense of being dumb.
Yeah.
And, like, no one cares. There's, like, no expectations for him, which I think is awesome.
And he's way more, like, in on the joke than I think people think he is.
Good for him.
No, seriously, like I thought he showed that in the roast when he got up there. Like, he's way more in on the joke than people actually give Gronk credit for.
Yeah. Who out of like Boston athletes or Patriots players you met, you're like, damn, he's like a real, like just a low key, salt of the earth, down to earth person?
You know, weirdly, Drew Bledsoe, after I made fun of him, I was like, he's so cool and he's so nice. And we like hung out and we like drank at the Comedy Store. And I was like, this dude is rad.
Fresh off the roast.
Yeah. He like came and chilled with the comics. He's so cool.
I respect that about him of like, it's comedy. You came at me, but that was funny as hell. Like, I can't.
He put me in the headlock. It was awesome. Yeah.
He's a big dude, Drew Bledsoe. People don't know that.
Cool as hell.
What did he say to you after? Did he give you like...
He was like, why were you so mean? And then he like put me in the headlock. And then we like drank. We just did shots and stuff.
I want to end this talking a little more about your like tour across the country and you being back at the Wilbur in Boston in September too. What excites you the most, like second show coming back to Boston?
Just the energy. I think it's just going to be so different since the roast. You know, I think more of Boston knows who I am as well. You know what I mean? And so to see just the energy, I just think the energy is going to be real live. I'm just excited because I think it's going to be fire.
What makes a venue like the Wilbur special?
That's where everybody goes, right?
Yeah,
I was growing up. I was going there to see like plays with my mom, and that's where every comic came through. And especially when you first start comedy in this city, you see the little marquee outside of who's coming, and you're like, man, one day, one day. It's one of those one day, and it's in your city, So like being able to do that at home and have one of my one days be crossed off the list is fire.
I'm getting chills about that. And when you started, was that always like an aspiration to get into the Wilbur? Like when you were chasing open mics and everything?
Yeah, I mean,
right?
I remember at Nick's Comedy Stop, which was across the street in that club over there. And they had another room that was below the Wilbur. And they would do shows there. And I was headlining, or I was featuring one of those shows that was, and some more was at the Wilbur above my head, literally on top of me. And you could hear the laughs from the Samore show like bleeding down into our show. And I was like, one day I'm going to be upstairs and not in this basement doing a show, you know what I mean? So like, for sure, from, very early, when you start to just set benchmarks of your own city, the Wilbur is a place for Boston.
That's awesome. That's a great note to end on. Sam J, I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Awesome to meet you.
Nice
You're
to
a
meet you as
great
well.
person.
Thank
Love your
you.
comedy. September 7th in the Wilbur for Sam J.
September 7th.
In Boston.
Grab
It's a
your
Saturday
tickets.
night. Yeah, get the tickets. Come out, support her. She's from the city. Loves it. Always represents it. Sam, again, thanks for the time.
Appreciate you.
PNC Bank, rooted in communities big and small.